Musashi Kishimoto was a name whispered in hushed tones. He was known as the Wandering Blade, a masterless samurai that roamed the land. His quest was not for power or glory. He sought understanding. He yearned to grasp the true meaning of the sword. Kishimoto had witnessed enough bloodshed. He had seen the horrors of war firsthand. He knew the emptiness of victory. His heart ached for a different path, one of peace and enlightenment. So he walked away from the battlefield. He chose to dedicate his life to finding a better way. He traveled light, carrying only his swords and a worn bamboo flute. The flute was more than an instrument to him. It was a symbol. It represented the harmony he sought within himself and the world. He believed in the power of music. He knew it could touch the soul in ways words never could. Kishimoto wandered, seeking out stories and wisdom. He learned from hermits and monks, poets and peasants. He honed his skills not just with the blade, but with his heart and mind. He believed true strength lay in compassion. Mercy was his greatest weapon. Whispers carried by the wind reached Kishimoto's ears. A village nestled in a valley, cloaked in an unsettling mist. Shadows had crept into the lives of the once peaceful villagers. Their joy had turned into hushed, fearful murmurs. They spoke in hushed tones of a fearsome ronin named Ryuzen, a warrior, now a ghost of his former self, consumed by rage and sorrow. Ryuzen wielded a cursed blade, a sword that whispered dark secrets into his soul. The Serpent's Fang, a blade that thirsted for blood. Once, Ryuzen had been a revered warrior, but the Serpent's Fang had twisted his spirit, poisoning his heart with its dark power. He ruled the village with fear, demanding tribute and obedience. Those who defied him met swift and brutal ends. The villagers were desperate. They had heard of Kishimoto, the Wandering Blade who sought peace. Hope flickered in their hearts. Perhaps this wandering samurai could free them from Ryuzen's reign of terror. Kishimoto entered the village at dusk. The weight of fear hung heavy in the air, palpable and suffocating. The streets lay deserted, the houses sealed tight against the encroaching darkness. He approached a group of villagers, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of a dying fire. Their eyes, a mix of fear and hope, followed his every move. An elder, his face etched with deep lines of worry, stepped forward. His voice trembled as he recounted their plight. Ryuzen had taken everything, their crops, their livestock, and their young men for his army. Their pleas for mercy had been met with cold indifference. Kishimoto listened, his heart heavy with their suffering. He could feel the darkness that had enveloped Ryuzen. It emanated from him like a suffocating shroud. This was a betrayal of the warrior's code. Ryuzen had strayed far from the path of honor. "I will help you," Kishimoto promised, his voice calm but resolute. He knew the path ahead was fraught with peril, but he could not turn away from their desperate pleas. He would confront Ryuzen, not to kill, but to save him from the consuming darkness. Ryuzen awaited him in the village square, a dark silhouette against the dying light. The Serpent's Fang pulsed with an evil energy, its blade reflecting the crimson hues of the setting sun. Ryuzen laughed, a hollow, chilling sound. "So the Wandering Blade graces us with his presence," Ryuzen sneered. "Have you come to join my army? I have come to offer you redemption," Kishimoto replied, his voice steady and clear. Ryuzen roared with laughter. "Redemption? There is only power, fool. The power of the Serpent's Fang." Their swords clashed in a flurry of steel. Sparks flew as Kishimoto parried each blow with desperate precision. He moved with the swiftness of a summer storm, his movements both powerful and desperate. But Ryuzen was a formidable opponent, fueled by the dark energy of the cursed blade. Kishimoto's struggle was evident, each strike a testament to his resolve. Kishimoto's journey was not just one of swordsmanship, but of redemption. He sought to reach the man buried deep within Ryuzen, the warrior lost to the curse. During their battle, Kishimoto glimpsed a flicker of pain in Ryuzen's eyes, a moment of clarity amidst the darkness. He saw his chance. With a swift maneuver, Kishimoto disarmed Ryuzen, sending the Serpent's Fang clattering across the cobblestones. But instead of delivering a final blow, Kishimoto reached for his flute. He brought it to his lips and began to play. The melody was haunting, filled with sorrow yet laced with hope. It echoed through the silent square, weaving a tapestry of sound that pushed back the darkness. Ryuzen stood frozen. the flute's music piercing through the layers of rage and despair that had encased his soul. The melody stirred Ryuzen's soul, awakening memories long buried. He recalled a time before the curse when he was a man of honor, a guardian, a devoted husband and father. He envisioned the faces of his beloved wife and children, their smiles radiating love and admiration. The serpent's fang, lying forgotten on the ground, pulsed faintly, its grip on him loosening. The music swelled, filled with longing and sorrow. Ryuzen sank to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He saw the devastation he had caused, the terror in the eyes of the villagers he had once protected. The weight of his past actions crashed upon him like a tidal wave. The serpent's fang was no ordinary blade. Forged in the fires of Mount Fuji, it was said to contain a malevolent spirit, a vengeful entity seeking to corrupt any who wielded it. Ryuzen had come across the sword by chance, drawn to its ornate design and the promise of power it whispered. He had been a proud samurai, honorable and just. But the serpent's fang whispered to his deepest fears and insecurities. It promised him strength, influence, and the ability to shape the world according to his will. Blinded by ambition and the sword's subtle influence, Ryuzen succumbed to its power. He became a shell of his former self, consumed by the sword's darkness. The man who had once valued honor and compassion became a tyrant, driven by paranoia and rage. The serpent's fang had taken everything from him, his family, his friends, his very soul. Kishimoto's music, filled with compassion and understanding, became a beacon of hope. Each note gently lifted the curse's grip, reminding Ryuzen of the man he once was, and the man he could become again. The melody spoke of forgiveness, of second chances, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. As the last notes faded, a profound silence embraced the village square. The villagers, who had been watching with a mixture of fear and hope, gasped as they witnessed the transformation. The dark aura that had clung to Ryuzen vanished like smoke on the wind. Ryuzen looked up at Kishimoto, his eyes filled with gratitude. He saw not a conqueror, but a savior, a beacon of light in the darkness that had threatened to consume him. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, he felt a glimmer of hope. You freed me, Ryuzen whispered, his voice laden with reflection. He gazed down at the serpent's fang, lying innocuous on the ground. It no longer pulsed with malevolent energy. Its power seemed to have diminished, as if Kishimoto's music had cleansed it of its darkness. Kishimoto nodded slowly. "The curse is broken," he said, his voice soft but firm. "But the path to redemption is long and arduous. You must choose to walk it step by step, with courage and humility." Ryuzen rose to his feet, his legs unsteady beneath him. He was a shadow of his former self, his body weary, his spirit battered but not broken. He picked up the serpent's fang, holding it gingerly, as if it were a venomous snake. He looked at the blade, then back at Kishimoto. "What shall I do with this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It is up to you to decide," Kishimoto replied, his voice calm and steady. "You can choose to break it, to cast it away, or to keep it as a reminder of the darkness you have overcome." Ryuzen closed his eyes, his face etched with the weight of his decision. He thought of all the pain he had caused, the lives he had shattered, the fear he had instilled in the hearts of innocent people. He knew he could never truly atone for his actions, but he could choose to forge a new path, one dedicated to peace and healing. He opened his eyes, his gaze resolute. He walked towards the village well, a simple stone structure that had provided water for generations. He looked down into its depths, seeing not just the reflection of his own weary face, but the faces of those he had wronged. With a heavy heart, Ryuzen dropped the serpent's fang into the well. It disappeared into the darkness with a soft splash, swallowed by the earth. He felt a weight lift from his shoulders, as if the curse that had bound him had finally been broken. As he walked away from the well, a sense of peace washed over him, knowing his journey had led him to this moment of reflection and tranquility. The villagers slowly emerged from their homes, their initial apprehension giving way to curiosity and cautious hope. They had witnessed the duel, heard the haunting melody of Kishimoto's flute, and seen the transformation in Ryuzen's demeanor. Kishimoto stayed in the village for a few days, helping to rebuild what had been destroyed. He shared his wisdom with the villagers, teaching them the importance of compassion, forgiveness, and the true meaning of strength. He showed them that peace was not merely the absence of conflict, but an active choice, a commitment to understanding and empathy. As dawn broke on the third day, Kishimoto prepared to leave. He stood at the edge of the village, his silhouette framed against the rising sun. He turned to face the villagers, a small smile gracing his lips. "The path to peace is a journey, not a destination," he said, his voice filled with quiet strength. "Remember, true strength lies not in the sword you wield, but in the compassion you hold in your heart." And with that, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the mountains, his flute song a lingering memory in the hearts of those he left behind. The mountains, bathed in morning light, remembered his tale, a story of hope and serenity.